1, add Slavoid T.
All right, this is Shit Spouter 37.
This is Black.com pilled.
This is the Fed Post.
This was weird is like this, like COVID kind of went away, like the lockdowns went away last summer in New York. I mean, New York is probably where you'll most like clearly see how hard the lockdowns are going down. And then even here, it kind of eased up in the summer. And I remember last summer, like during the BLM stuff and all that, like it seemed like COVID had just gone away for a little bit. And then winter came and it just was like a return of everything. But yeah, I mean, now I feel like we're sort of like in a repeat situation now where it feels like everybody's like, you know, oh, it's over. You know what I mean? With the vaccines and everything. I'm going now. There's like places I can go in without a mask or whatever, which like I've been already conditioned in New York just to like go into places with the mask and Ubers and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys get that feeling. Like it seems like everybody's like sort of agreed that it's over, or they want to agree that it's over.
Yeah, that's why they're trying so hard with this Delta bullshit.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, dude, bro, the Delta variant though. Come on, we gotta go back. That's the thing, dude. I'm just asking. I'm like licking the bottom of the bag. I'm just like 2 more fucking weeks. Let's flatten this second curve, dude. Come on, please, bro. You don't understand. There's a Delta Plus also.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Is they're really like, I mean, like, I don't know. When people were like, oh, it's over, you know, it's fine. Just get the vaccine and it'll be over. We don't have to hear about this shit anymore. I was just like, I don't think it's going to end with that.
Yeah, you were on it early. You were saying it was just going to keep going. And I definitely agree. I mean, they're not done with this.
Yeah. That's sort of the thing is like, I don't know. Were you guys thinking at any point that this was? I mean, there were moments I would say that it sort of felt like over. But did you guys get any of that sense, or are you guys just certain that this Delta thing is gonna be the whole revamping?
I think most normal people just think that like they feel like this shit's over. They're done with it. Like it interrupted their lives long enough, and they're just fucking done with it now. And like we've been allowed to go back to normal to a degree enough. Like ever since they decided that enough people had the vaccine or whatever, that you can now not wear a mask and there's full capacity, like sporting events and shows or, you know, whatever, now restaurants and stuff now too. I think it's going to be, they're going to try to probably shut stuff down again, I imagine, but it's going to be a lot harder to get people to actually go along with it this time, I think, just personally. I mean, the people who are going to eat this shit up are already going to eat this shit up and be like, fucking, yeah, get back inside and like order your Uber Eats. But I think that people who were like just passively okay with it previously, now are going to be like, man, what the fuck about going back?
I guess so. I still think people are being pretty passive. Like everybody's just happy that the rules have relaxed a little bit and that they get to do stuff, you know? And I still don't, especially around in New York, I don't talk to that many people who realized that it was just like all the rules were bullshit all along.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably be fractured by region for a large, and like maybe like urban centers and stuff. I think you'll have some places that are going to be more compliant, obviously, than others. But like, I mean, you see a lot more kickback now than you had before, and those areas are doing fine, like Florida and stuff like that, and Texas and other states that have come out strongly against a lot of this stuff or outlawed mask mandates and stuff like that. And they're doing fine and actually have been growing economically and population wise because people want to go and be around that shit because they're tired of it shutting their lives down. So like, I don't know.
I mean, this is like,
sorry, go on, Slav.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was just gonna kind of just like expand and just say that like the regional component of it has kind of been the way it's been since day one, really. And I think that, yeah, it's just kind of the angle's going to widen, right? Like it's just going to veer off more dramatically. Yeah. Anyways, continue what you were saying.
I was just saying now there's just like more holdouts of showing that like, hey, we don't necessarily have to be doing this crazy shit, to where like there's more of like a fragment of doubt in most people's minds that this shit's even necessary. And also it's just hard to like get people to, I think it'll be hard to get people to go back. I don't really know though. Maybe I'm wrong. I think that it'll depend probably on where you're at and ideologically what your line is mostly, but
what's the Bay Area like? I didn't get to go there the whole time I was moving around. I used to live out there, but yeah, Alex, what's going on out there right now?
Well, it's actually easing a lot in terms of masks and stuff from what I see. And things are pretty much open. So it's not really holding out as much as I maybe even thought it was. And then I could definitely see if there is anywhere, though, where there's another round of lockdowns that works, it will be probably Bay Area in California and also probably LA similar if they do ramp up a push for that. It's kind of hard to tell right now what will happen because when the first round of lockdown started, we had really intense propaganda and really shocking media footage of like Northern Italy, Wuhan before that, and then what was going on in New York. So until there is something, until there are like events and images around that, it's hard to tell what will happen because now it's just kind of vague warnings that aren't really supported by any data, and then the description is like of the common cold for the Delta variant. So I don't know, maybe they'll do some masterful turn of propaganda later in the summer or in the fall. It's hard to tell.
It wouldn't be the first time, but yeah, like you're saying that Italy propaganda, like this India stuff, is sort of like their latest run at that. We're just like, oh yeah, it's not bad here, but it's bad somewhere else, and then it might get like that here. But yeah, as far as people like,
I love that comparison. By the way, it's just like, it might not be super bad, but just imagine if the United States was all old people and we had no antiseptics, then it would be really bad, guys. and it's like, all right, yeah, no, that's super relevant. Yeah,
even my own family, I'll just be like, yeah, I mean, like, there's people not dropping like flies here, like they said there would be. You know what I mean? And they'll just be like, yeah, well, what about India? It'll be like, all right, well, I don't know about India. I'm not there. Like, what does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Like, and then it's just this vague threat that's just looming over of like, oh, it could be like that here, but it's not. And then now this Fauci and like the Delta variant coming here.
Did you guys actually know that the Delta variant is the new name for the India variant?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Like,
is it really?
Yeah.
Yes. They stopped calling it the India like strain or whatever, and they're calling it the Delta variant.
Well, that's good because that's racist, but
that's why India was complaining to the WHO, so they were like, all right, we'll call it the Delta variant or whatever.
The Wuhan flu.
That's just a win-win because it makes it seem like there's more mutations than there actually are. Well, and to be honest, Delta just sounds a little bit more imposing. It sounds like some like AI that's going to kill you.
When they switched it from coronavirus to COVID-19, like there was that subtle switch.
Do you remember in the beginning when they were like fucking field testing all these different insane names that were like really long and like it's embarrassing.
Coronavirus, yeah.
There are like I don't think a lot of people realize that there are like many thousands of variants of mutations of this virus, which is like totally normal. So it's not like they're discovering a new one and then it's a big thing they have to figure out what to do. These things are just out there all over the world, and they're just picking like one at a time and making a big scare cycle out of it, or doing their best. But like last I saw, there's over 10,000 like sequence variants. Which
the triple mutant, the double mutant, right? All that stuff, right?
Yeah. It's just what happens,
Yeah, and they were also saying about Delta that it's more deadly and easier to transmit. But usually, it's supposed to be either or. Like as a virus mutates, it either becomes more deadly or it becomes more transmissible.
Yeah, what I saw, they were like, oh, it's easier for children to get it. It's more likely that children will get it. So that's just like another way that they can lump another group of people in that definitely now need to get the vaccine.
Well, all of the shit they're saying is just like so perfectly just like addressing all of the things, like all of the my brain is fucking just totally blanking because I'm a retard. Just like the agenda is just perfectly being addressed in all of this. It's like, oh, young people aren't getting vaxxed enough. And then like a week later, guys, we just got a new variant. It's going to target young people. You're going to have to get vaccinated. And it's like, oh, you think I'm a fucking idiot, don't you? You think I'm a fucking idiot, Joe Biden.
Yeah, it's market research. It's like, oh, where's the gap in our marketing? Oh, there. Okay, the youth. All right, well, let's just fix that.
Dude, honestly, advertisers would be more subtle than this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like in terms of like people like psychologically going back to it, I feel like the second turn where like it went away in the summer and then it came back in the winter, I remember people being like, I will not consent to a second round of lockdowns. I won't. And it happened and I didn't hear anything. Like it was like less resistance than the first time. You know what I mean? So I feel like if they do it a third time, nobody's going to do anything. And I'm pretty sure they know that. I'm pretty sure people will just be like, oh, yeah, well, this is what we're doing now. You know what I mean? And when this started, there were plenty of articles like, hey, we're going to keep doing this through 2022. You know, it's going to be at least 3 years minimum. Like they had this whole thing like scoped out.
What are you referring to with the second lockdown?
No, I'm talking about
after
how
the summer of last year?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like, a lot of places didn't really even go back to a serious type of lockdown after that, though. I mean, not places that I visited and like places like Florida and stuff, and also places throughout the Midwest. Right. Even in like, I don't know, I think like even in Denver, it felt like it also kind of lessened up after the summer. Like I feel like it's just kind of been a gradual stripping away of each rule since like the summer of last year. It hasn't really felt like there's been like another serious lockdown in most places I've seen. I don't know if that's different in New York though.
In New York, it came back.
It was a little bit like that here as well. Of like, what was I gonna say? It was
quasi lockdown. Yeah.
They like we talked about this, I think, like on the egg episode of like when people online were talking about like, well, there was never any lockdown, okay? And it's like, well, it's just because like we did. Honestly, it's just like power generally, right? Like it was like kind of this hard to perceive thing, sorta, in a lot of ways, and it wasn't. It's like if you were ever waiting for like the Chinese government to like weld your door shut, then like that was obviously never going to happen. But we like obviously did have lockdowns, and yeah, like over here there was like Jay Inslee like posting about fucking we're ramping the level back up. We're ramping the level back up because there was a surge because you selfish sociopaths went to see your family during Thanksgiving. And like I think I couldn't really perceive any like difference really. Like I couldn't, I couldn't go do shit that I wanted to do, but that's been the last year and a half.
Yeah,
really.
I couldn't do that during the summer either though, for real. Was my kind of point. Like it just didn't feel like there was a market difference at any point where like, to me, it feels like there's a more market difference right now than there was at any other point throughout this. Like there hasn't been a quote unquote return to normalcy quite like we've experienced right now throughout it, to where I don't think it's quite comparable to say like, next time people are just going to go right back into it with no problem. Like, I don't think there's going to be armed resistance or people like doing any type of crazy protest, but I think people are just going to, for a large portion of people are just going to kind of ignore it and live their lives normally regardless.
Well, I think that's where like I saw a take yesterday that was someone just being like, yeah, I mean, like if you just don't want to deal with this shit, you should probably just get out of the coastal cities. And I think
that was Noki.
Yeah. Oh, that was just straight up you. Hey, what a great coincidence.
It's so awkward when we steal takes from people that are on the show.
That wasn't stealing a take.
I'm joking.
It's if only this person was readily available to speak on this sentiment. I mean, that's just fucking spot on.
Yeah.
I guess I just think like it is going to be different, region to region. When I was going around the country, it was already like last fall, it was different region to region, and really just like, block by block, even it seems to have a lot to do with how much money people have.
Oh, for sure.
But, so it's not one like policy that affects everybody the same way, but the economic stuff that happens as a result of it, like that's all real. And like all these kids who, lost a year and a half of school and maybe they're never going to go back. Like that's a real thing. And so I think especially a lot of like even journalists and proper like thinkers on this stuff, to them, it's just like, well, I can go out to a bar and have a normal life. So this isn't really happening. And that really just drives me a little crazy because it really is, I think. It really is happening. A lot of money's being made. A lot of people are being wiped out. It's just tough to hear the sort of like nonchalance, which I think is about being dissociated from what life was like before all this craziness. We don't even really have any connection to that anymore. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's all very normalized. And you were kind of saying this earlier where like, people are like grateful to get back freedoms that they had a year ago before all this. Like, oh, thank you for letting me go outside without a mask. It's like you already had that. Like, oh, thanks for, the vaccine allows me to do this. Like people are like, they just take something away and then they dangle it back and then they expect credit for giving you back what they just took from you. Like, it just seems like a weird, it's just amazing how fast that gets adjusted in people's brains. Yeah. But I know that original like thing of like, oh, lockdowns never happened. That was like around one of Alex's tweets or whatever. Like, I don't know, Alex, do you even like have any feeling about that whole idea of like pretending like the lockdowns never happened? Like, I don't know. Does that mean anything to you, or is it just not?
Well, I feel like they have to say that because they don't want to deal with the collateral damage that was caused.
Right. Yes. Right.
And then that's one factor, because I feel like it just affects people's self-image to think they supported something that went against what they think their values are. So it's just easier to like close our eyes and say, oh, it never happened. And then another factor is that I think they think that lockdowns were an effective policy. So if we had an ineffective policy, it wasn't a lockdown because it didn't work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they think that like a true lockdown is like, I forget who said this, but someone mentioned like the police welding you into your apartment. And anything that's not that is not a true lockdown. So I think that there's certain fantasy that we should have, or we could have just suspended all supply chains and not had anyone do anything the entire time. And who knows where people would get food, or like what would happen to waste, or how any infrastructure would be maintained. And that would be a lockdown. But that's like something that's a fairy tale. That's not real. So they can say, oh, this imaginary thing never happened, therefore we didn't lock down. I think that's the second factor, basically.
Yeah, I still see people like old Bernie people like supporting that idea that we should have just shut down the entire society and just send people a big enough check. And it's like that's not really how, like, I mean, money's important, but it's not really how everybody survives. And it's very weird and like circular reasoning. It's weird to me.
All the food in the grocery store will simply appear tomorrow morning, and no one will need to do anything.
I mean, they leave the box outside of your door. Amazon just drops the box off. You never even see the person. So
there's no supply chain. They're hardcore communists, so they expect a Chinese full authoritarian lockdown.
It was.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, it's just also really weird that they're always making it about like, oh, you just wanted to get a haircut or go to Applebee's.
Oh, yes.
And I just think that's so strange because it's like kids were out of school for more than a year. That's a concern. And Zoom school is not a substitute. Has nothing to do with haircuts or Applebee's. So I think that's kind of like what you were saying, Yoki, that they have a very small world and they're completely disconnected to what life is like for like 80% of the country. Yep. So they just have no ability to recognize what the difference would be other than that you can't go to Applebee's.
And that specific use of Applebee's and like Olive Garden and such, they also use, that's also just like classism. Like blatant classism, because like the people who go to those, that in their minds are people who are these like backwards, deplorable people who are anti-maskers and who probably voted wrong and all this and that and the other. And so it's just like, it's both. It's like these people are so disconnected, and they're also just blatantly displaying their classism and their like disregard for these people.
I remember like a discussion in the past I forget when exactly it was and with who, but CRK just like telling somebody like, yeah, I think that just like that like Cushbomb just doesn't like poor people after we were talking about this exact thing, and people just be like, what? How could you possibly say that? And it's like, come on, like this shit's just like right in front of. Anyway, I don't mean to be like getting into like petty stupid Twitter drama.
Like, not to get personal about anybody, but I think that especially in like Brooklyn, there are a lot of people here who like came from the Midwest, which is great. I love the Midwest, but I think there's a lot of like hatred of where they came from, and they're trying to create
hatred of dad. Yeah, I was thinking about this today. Right, I'm in Seattle. Well, thankfully now I'm outside of Seattle, but it's still basically Seattle, and I'm in Seattle, and I've noticed like the average experience these days is just being condescended by some like new person, some person who's just freshly moved to Seattle from like out of like the Midwest diaspora, and they'll just condescend me by being like, don't you appreciate like urban culture? And I've like lived here my entire life and understand that this place just like fucking sucks dick.
Yeah.
And they'll just be like,
you're going the wrong way. You came here like you went the wrong way. Like you're trying to get out of here.
and I don't say this as anyone that has any ill will at all towards the Midwest or anything like that, but it's like they come from like fucking Ohio, and they're just like, God, like, don't you just love living in a Woody Allen movie? And it's just like, shut the fuck up, dude, shut the fuck up. And they'll always do the whole like, you know, like, it's so great, like it's a lot less conservative. I mean, it's like it's kind of expensive, but and it's like, you just give it like 6 months, don't worry.
Man, it's like that in Denver too. Like that's how like all these fucking transient striver cities are, dude. Like it's just people who move there from other places because they hate the people that in the situations that they were in, or like the family that they grew up with or whatever, and they're looking for like these bullshit like tech jobs, and they don't have any rooting to the area, and they don't plan on setting any roots down, so they just like create relationships that are meaningless and don't actually last, and they build shit that's meaningless and doesn't last, and then everything just turns to shit around it.
Well, and you just spend, it's a great way to like just spend your entire mid-20s just floating around and spending all of your income on rent money. I'll just move to a place that makes it so that I can do absolutely zero saving. That's a great idea.
Owning nothing and being happy is what.
Exactly. And
a lot of these like internet socials or whatever, these kids that you're talking about, like they were just bullied in high school, and their politics is grievances. You know, that's really what it is. They're just upset at these people from their old youth. And that's what that's what informs their politics of being like, oh, you know, fuck these people, they deserve it, or they're just spoiled or privileged or whatever. When this whole thing started, that's what we were talking about. Like the people that were protesting the lockdowns, people were talking about their trucks. Their trucks are very nice. I mean, this is the sort of thing like, you know, in the Applebee's thing and the haircut thing, it's like when people are like, oh, like neocons being like, oh, you have a TV, like you're not poor, you know, you have EBT, like what the fuck are you complaining about? Like that type of shit. That's exactly what it was to me.
Well, they're just trying to like find some excuse to not care about what people are saying, you know, and just say like, well, I see this one detail about you, so fuck you, and I'm just not going to listen to anything you think. And
and it's blatant classism. It's blatant. It's on its face.
It's also that discussion about the trucks is so interesting to me because I didn't understand how fucking huge of a portion of just all like loans in the US are just car loans. I didn't understand how fucking common that is. That just like all of these dudes driving through Portland in their stupid little fucking LARPy ass Trump truck parade. Like these people don't own these fucking trucks. Like these people, like this is their alternative to like student debt, basically.
Yeah, no one owns anything. Everybody's happy. Nobody owns anything. Like that's the deal.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure that they're pretty happy with their Dodge Ram pickup. It's probably a horrible financial decision, but yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I mean, these are also just like the same people that like, you know, they'll just like make not the truck people. The people making fun of the truck are the same people that will like, have their little like, oh, well, I spend $80 on all my subscription services so that I can stream absolute horse shit. And then they like just all these, the expensive phone, the subscription service, all of this shit. I mean, it's all the same shit. It's all the same thing with just a different coat of paint slapped on it for different cultural value systems.
They're bug men, and they're getting mad at these people for being consumers. Like it's just it's all blatant. It's all projection. Like that's all it is. Like
right, you're a consumer, but you just don't like minimalist aesthetics. How dare you?
Yeah, you're consuming lowbrow stuff.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
Really
and it's so much of this can always be chalked up to just like hatred of just like the lower middle class. Yeah. It's just a lot of that.
Yeah, it's gauche. But what do you guys think of Fauci basically being like tossed out? Like him, like basically Cuomo got that treatment of being like the lib hero for lockdowns. He got tossed. And did Fauci get Me Too'd? I'm confused.
I think it's coming. I think it's still coming, but it hasn't happened yet.
It's in the pipeline. Gates got Me Too'd though.
Yeah.
Oh, Gates
shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys think of the Fauci thing. I think they're really just trying to like, I don't know. Last time we were on with Alex and Edgar, I remember Alex, you were saying back then like, was this October or something? We did this, like you were saying like there's going to be a big reversal on a lot of this stuff when it becomes undeniable. And I guess, like, I don't know, the Cuomo and the Fauci thing, like, it really does seem like that, like, damage control. It's like, all right, who is going to be to blame for all this? Like, that's how it feels to me. I don't know what you guys think of why they are, like, burying Fauci like this. Like, what do you guys think is driving that?
I guess, you remember David Petraeus? Is anybody else old enough to remember that guy?
The general, right?
Yeah.
The general who did the surge.
Right.
And he was like the great hero of that thing, and he was on TV all the time. And
yes,
and he got Me Too'd into oblivion, right?
He got early Me Too'd, like before Me Too.
It was like a proto too.
It was like his biographer or something, and he was like having an affair with her. Like I don't know, I forget the details, but it was
that's kind of based, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the one cool
you want to really know me? Like,
I came, I saw, I conquered.
But I think that's he got away fine. But when you're not needed for this stuff anymore, they'll find a way to sort of bury you under some nonsense, and everybody's just going to move on and forget about it. But you did your important work already, so I expect that'll happen to Fauci in some way.
And they'll set up Tony good, like he's gonna live a comfortable life, right? But they shuffle him out a little bit. I honestly I think that they countered the email stuff like pretty immediately. And so I think they're gonna keep him around to stay for a little while.
Yeah, they're using him to drive as the mouthpiece for this Delta variant thing. He's still got some utility.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's this. I saw in somebody's window the other day. They had like a fucking cardboard cutout of Tony Fauci in their fucking living room window. It's like he's like a metropolitan folk hero. It's fucking sick. I think they could probably still milk that a little longer.
Yeah, he's like Woody Guthrie with a stethoscope or something.
Yeah, this syringe kills populations.
Yeah, I think that the liberal media coverage of the emails was stuff like Fauci's email showed how hard he works.
No, for real. Like how much heat he caught and how criticized he was for doing his job, like bullshit like that.
Yeah, it was something like I loved the oh man, like you have some pretty boring emails, don't you? And it's like, oh yeah, I don't know what they were hoping to expose. They just say that. They can just say that.
Well, they know nobody's going to check. They know their like readers and listeners aren't going to look them up, and so they can say whatever they want about them, and it's going to work out.
Of course.
I like one thing about the emails that was really weird this whole time. It's been weird adjusting to this, but like the conservative media did that. They got those emails, they published them, and conservative media people were going through them one by one, just looking at them and seeing what was there and talking about it. And all of liberal media, like you said, Alex, like all I saw was people just saying, there's nothing here. It's stupid. Everybody shut up. And it worked. So there's like this real like brain rot of the fucking like left-wing media, just the actual journalists who are just not, they're lazy and they're stupid and they don't care. And it's really getting old.
Yeah. No, the whole lab leak thing just being the whole PR of all this, the way it just pivots on a dime is just completely surreal to me. And the whole lab leak thing just being like normal now, like this just normie. I don't know if it's normie lib opinion now, but like it's just like, yeah, of course it was a lab leak. Like I don't like Stewart going on the news and all that. Like I don't know, it's very weird. And I think I don't know how much they've tossed Fauci under the bus. But I thought they did for a second. But
dude, I think what it is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm done.
It's I think what it is, right, is because they can turn on the dime like that, and I don't think that it's that simple, right? Like I don't think they can just go in dry. I think they gotta lube it up a little bit, right? And I think what that means is you just expose people a little bit to a little bit of the content of either direction that it could go to, so that they can be like dynamic, right? And so like you have a little bit of like Fauci critique floating out there in the ether, right? Just in case you gotta cut him, right? Right. But we'll just, in the meantime, we'll just say, hey, like we'll also just say, there's nothing really like to any of these emails. Right. I think that's what's happening, right? Like I think like I don't know. I literally just forgot what you were.
No, like
it's so fucking
the ground. They're softening the ground. They want it so that that if they do it, they'll be like, hey, we talked about this before. You know what I mean? Like it's not unprecedented.
Yeah. One day they can just be like, well, here's this one email that we didn't quite look over well enough, and it's actually quite sinister.
Yeah, exactly. It's somewhere in this like deluge of information, just like this fucking landslide of shit that they're just pumping out, and then they can just sift back through it and be like, well, we mentioned it once here, and so we're good.
Well, the interesting thing with the lab leak stuff is that regardless of whether the theory is correct, Fauci is someone who should be under way more heat for it. Just because I think Obama had an executive order prohibiting gain of function research in the U.S. or something like that, and then Fauci like deliberately moved the NIH research to Wuhan, and he even had a op-ed around the time in a major paper and about how we should continue doing gain of function research. And it was called something like a pandemic risk worth taking. Or
shit.
Oh, fucking God, dude.
And so
that's worth trying.
Yeah, it's sort of like, regardless of whether it was leaked from the lab, I mean, this should all be exposed and common knowledge that this person is reckless and irresponsible and acts, I don't know, just acts like he can do whatever he wants, is completely corrupt, and he's the highest paid bureaucrat, I think, in the US. And he just does whatever he wants. And for the decades that he's been in the position, people have been getting more and more unhealthy. We've had the obesity crisis, we've had the opioid crisis, and yet he still retains his position. His ties to pharma are ridiculous. So,
I want him dropped. I want him dropped.
Years trying to develop an HIV vaccine, and he got nothing out of it. Like, spent a whole bunch of money on that.
Yeah, and it kind of similar to the, I guess, ivermectin story of now that people were basically not given access during the AIDS crisis to certain treatments because he wanted to pursue a vaccine program instead.
Oh, it sounds eerily similar to the hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah.
So what is the ivermectin controversy? What's going on with that? I missed that.
Alex, you probably know more about this.
Okay, well, I guess so. Ivermectin is a cheap antiviral therapeutic, and it's available in generic form, and it's not under patent. So if it had been used for COVID, pharma wouldn't have been able to make any money off of it. And Merck, I think, said it wasn't safe at the beginning of the pandemic, even though they had been, giving it to tons of African children for a long time for parasites and stuff. All of a sudden, it wasn't safe to use anymore. And basically, there was now a lot of money given to pharmaceutical companies to develop very similar compounds for antiviral medication for COVID, even though there's already potentially had been antivirals like ivermectin previously available that could have been repurposed for COVID. And the person who kind of brought this to attention was Brett Weinstein and I forget his name, Pierre Corey. And the episode of Brett Weinstein's show on YouTube about it was removed from YouTube.
Oh.
And I think Pierre Corey also had congressional testimony about it that was also removed from YouTube. So they're really clamping down on people, I guess, sharing studies or evidence about the efficacy of the drug. And part of that is because if there had been effective treatments for COVID available, they wouldn't have been able to get the emergency use authorization for the vaccines before full FDA approval. Because for emergency use authorization, you can't have another treatment already available.
Yeah, that's my understanding too, that they needed to say there's nothing else we can do, so we have to rush these mRNA vaccines through. It's supposed to be like a 6-year process because this has never been in the human population before. And they just got it done in 10 months. And
6 years, really?
I mean, a vaccine trial, you have to wait a long time.
Yeah, or more, yeah.
To see
all these libs keep telling me I'm like, yo, isn't this kind of fast? They're like, oh, no, it's not.
It's
standard.
Yeah.
I mean, these trials are still slated to go on until 2023 anyways, like the trials for the current vaccines that are actually out. So, I mean, even the fucking long-term trials that they rushed through aren't even done yet. So, of course it's fast.
And the thing about this that's really the craziest to me that makes me feel insane is if you look at drugs that do get approved, like FDA approval, go through all the right, clinical trials, that system is rigged for the pharma companies to make money. Yeah. There's a ton of dangerous shit that gets through, ton of ineffective shit that gets through. And they've set up a system that is, works in their favor. And this needed something more lax than that, I guess. And it's in a way, the company Moderna, this is the first product they've ever brought to market. Mm-hmm. They've been pushing mRNA to investors for a decade. So they've wanted to get this out somehow. And I think this was definitely an opportunity to sneak it through a really, really lax approval process that I guess they were worried about, not making it through on their own. I mean, I don't know. We'll see over years. We'll see what it is. But to me, that's just insanely dangerous. I don't know.
Yeah, this sort of reminds me of what COH and we've been talking about with big pharma lately of just patenting seeds, it's about getting exclusive rights to a product instead of whether the product is actually good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like that. I mean, so what do you guys feel about the vaccines in general? Are you more, in my mind, I'm more concerned about vaccine passports than I am about the vaccine itself. Do you guys feel I haven't gotten vaccinated yet. I've been delaying it, but everything in New York is fucking pushing me towards getting it. There's just mad pressure, everywhere I go to get it, to do normal stuff. But are you guys, they haven't done the vaccine passports yet. There's Excelsior, there's some a test app program or whatever to sort of act like a vaccine passport on your phone that just takes your Vax card ID number and puts it in or whatever. But how do you guys feel? Are you guys more worried about the vaccine itself or the repercussions of it, or both? How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, for me, it's definitely both. I'm worried about both because I don't know about the new technology that they're putting into people. I've read as much as I can, and I'm going to continue to, but it does kind of scare me. And then the passport thing. like that seems to me like one of the endpoints of all this nonsense is that everybody has a little app on their phone that's going to say everything about their health information and what shots they've had and where they're allowed to go. And, I mean, that's very alarming. For sure.
And then you can pair that with like some sort of beta, like social credit type system, like they're working on with like Uber and Lyft ride services, where they give you like a rider score and stuff like that. They can pump that type of technology out and pair it with vaccine passport type stuff, or just run it all through the same app.
I think Israel is already doing a form of vax passport.
Yeah,
they had it, and then I think they stopped it, but I don't know. Now they're doing more restrictions for Delta, so I don't know if they'll bring it back.
I like literally know more people that have had adverse effects to the vaccine than I know people that got fucking COVID at this point.
Yeah, same.
So I don't really know. I started out not super concerned about the vaccine because just like what the fuck is the incentive of just like making all your fucking workers sick, right? But I think that's a little simplistic, honestly, at this point, because it seems like there's something wrong going on, and then I see like honestly like relatively kind of normie sources talking about how this I don't know what to call it, India strain or Delta or fucking OG Northern Lights Kush COVID or fucking whatever this bullshit is.
THC.
Yeah, dude, it's sticky shit.
Yeah, dude, this shit, dude, cough to get off, bro. But like people saying it's like you're 6 times more likely to die from it if you got the fucking vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, that's fucking hilarious. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean,
dude, there's huge incentive to keep everyone sick all the time, because then you can sell them the cures all the time. Like, it might not be incentive for like you know, the entire class of like owners, the entire owner class, but like for these specific big pharma companies and the executives therein and the people who lobby on their behalf, there's incredible incentive to give someone out some type of vaccine that's going to fuck some shit up, that's going to maybe make them reliant on having to come back and get updates on that vaccine, maybe make them have to come back and get something that's going to fix some sort of side effect from that vaccine, or just also testing new technology like this mRNA stuff and seeing what the implications are and how it can be used for other stuff that they would like to use.
I think that's a really important point. I think that this can be repurposed for other, you know, future respiratory viruses that spread, which is like a state of nature. It's just going to keep happening. It's a recurrent thing. And they can just they can plug in that little, they can use this same technology to, you know, on a different strain of a new virus or whatever. And they're not even going to have to go through an approval process again.
Yep.
And this is like a huge cash cow. It's like 2.5 billion doses, and it's all public funds that's coming their way.
No, it's free, bro. It's free. They told me it's free.
Yeah. So,
and we were talking about patents just a moment ago. But I mean, if you can patent that technology, then any type of thing that helps to use that technology is going to have to pay you to access it. So, I mean, if you can be the first to run it out through, if you've been working on mRNA, like Gnocchi was saying, Moderna has, for 10 years or whatever, and you've been having sketchy products, but then you get a quick window where you can run it out. So you can go ahead and patent this technology so no one else can beat you out the door first with a better product. I mean, shit, dude. Huge incentive for that.
And then, like Alex was saying about ivermectin, like that's a generic thing that's cheap to produce and acquire, and there's a lot less money to be made if that turns out to be an effective therapeutic, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I have Slav's sort of take on this where at first I'm less worried about the vaccine itself, but I don't know, there's articles where it's women's periods are getting fucked up by the vaccine, but that's normal. That's what they say. They say that in
women's period is always getting fucked up by modern medicine.
True, really.
It's like those Biden videos where it's clearly CGI Biden or whatever. They're just this is normal. It looks weird, but it's normal. It's they put it in the headline. It's you're making me feel nervous by saying it's normal. If you didn't say that, I wouldn't think anything. But I don't know. Alex, what do you think? Are you more concerned about the vaccine itself or the passport, or how do you feel about it?
I mean, I feel like the level of coercion in whatever form is really concerning. It's just extremely surreal. The way that I don't know, every single person I know has asked me if I've gotten vaccinated when they never cared about any of my other medical history before. Just really, and the embrace of like the branding stuff, Pfizer, Moderna, I got the J&J. It's just so strange.
Yeah.
And I think that the side effects are kind of just wrapped up in this too, because there's this weird denial of the reality that there are so many adverse events, and it like fuels people's loyalty to the pharmaceutical companies to deny this, you know? And I think the VAERS stuff is really crazy. The vaccine adverse event reporting system, the number of deaths linked to the COVID vaccines from the past few months is like more than the past 30 years from all vaccines combined.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I feel like people need to analyze that data and break that down more. But the raw numbers, you can't say there's no reason for anyone to be concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And
about that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just like what they're saying about that drives me nuts, because they're saying you can't connect those deaths to the vaccine. You know, that could have been a very old person who got it and then they died of something else.
But that doesn't apply for COVID,
exactly.
right?
It's like either that's true or it's not true, but they get to have it both ways depending on what they need. And it's frustrating. Yeah.
Well, these are the very same people who, like, you know, like a couple of years ago, right before this would happen, they would be the ones who were posting about how doctors in the medical profession don't listen to their patients enough. And it's leading to all these Black women who are dying because doctors don't listen to Black women's like pain levels and what they're saying about what's going on with their body, or minorities. And well, I mean, now they're just saying, oh, completely fuck what you're saying. Actually, those symptoms and side effects, those aren't fucking real. No, you got to trust the doctors. Those guys got it.
Gaslighting. Yeah. All the like Tuskegee experiment shit. Like there's like hoteps that are anti-vaccine. Shout out to the hoteps, because, you know, there's history there, obviously. But it's weird. Like of all like the pro-Black, like fake, like woke signaling, all that's kind of quiet. I don't really hear that. Where's that at? I know that's there.
Dude, there was that like music video, the like cartoon rap song about like how it's freaking super cool to get vaccinated because it'll help. It was a thing. It was like someone from Run DMC or something.
I think Cuomo tweeted that out.
Holy shit.
Dude,
it's always this fucking New Yorkers, man.
Where Brooklyn at?
And also this is like, have you guys noticed, maybe this is just me, I've noticed that it's become kind of acceptable. I've had a few normies say, like, you know, they'll be talking to me about the vaccine. They'll be like, "Oh God, it's important. You know, it's important for you to get the vaccine." But they'll concede that, like, you know, I mean, if you're like a woman like trying for a child or something, I can understand not doing it then. And it's like, wait.
So there's probably problems with it.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like that admission right there is like so much progress there, right? And so that makes me really nervous, right? Like if they're admitting that much, that's like the equivalent of fucking Hiroshima or something, dude. Like there's going to be a fucking body count in a couple weeks at this rate.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
that's what with them. They're like, "Oh, I don't know if you're a birthing person, Slav. So let me just, you know, if you are."
I don't know how you identify it. I don't know if you might have kids one day, Slav.
I got too many things.
I got a donor uterus coming in the mail in a couple days. So believe you me, I'm on it. But
through Amazon Prime,
same day delivery.
Yeah. Delivered by a sad Somalian man who's underpaid. Yeah, man. I don't know. I lost the thread there.
The irregular menstruation thing is definitely not like a normal vaccine thing.
It's fucking weird.
It's very weird. It's very common, and it was wild how little attention it got, because it happens to like a lot of women who get this product put into them, and it's like, it's alarming. Deserves some attention, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, because
it reminds me. It honestly, just like the first thing that comes to mind is just like it just like reminds me of just like, I think that like a modern birth control has just gotten people accustomed to just like weird shit. Mm-hmm. Because like
modern medicine in general.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like the rate at which people are just like, oh yeah, no, this is just I just even just the concept of just like natural processes being interrupted in a way that should kind of like speak to you about a certain danger, just totally hand waved away. I don't know. It's horrifying to me.
Well, I think that's like the point, that they want you to forget your individual concerns, forget your personal bodily autonomy, and despite the dangers, even knowing the danger, just completely submit to whatever medical procedure is told to you from on high that you need to have. And then like you don't have any personal control anymore.
Yeah. That's that. You mentioned that a bit earlier, Alex, about like the social pressure element of this. And honestly, that is a big thing. And it's so funny, like, you know, all these fucking musicals and these celebrities, like that video of like Ariana Grande, like singing about why you need to get the vaccine. There's like 20,000 videos of these theater kids talking about getting the vaccine and all that. And it's just funny. Like the pitch is always about like, well, for one, there's always this fear of like, if you question the vaccine at all, you must be a Nazi, right? There's just a straight, direct line to that. And it's funny to me, just in general, the way they pitch it. They pitch it like they're singing about like, yeah, you can take off the mask now, which is just weird to me because it's like, shouldn't the pitch be you're not going to die? Isn't it the whole point of the vaccine? Like, you're not going to kill your grandma. You're not going to die. But they don't do that because they know nobody's worried about that anymore. Nobody is viscerally afraid of that anymore. You know, it's like a long time since the videos of like the mass graves from space and the freezer trucks and all that nonsense, like that never really happened or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? All that's gone. So like nobody's really viscerally afraid of it. They're just, it's all social. It's just become like it's like a hallway of mirrors. Like there's no like real, like take the vaccine because of your health. It's just like, dude, like, don't you want to stop doing this bullshit? Like, it's very weird to me. Like, I don't know. But like, all the social pressure thing is weird.
Yeah, I think it's really clear that they kind of demoralize people as much as possible so that they would be desperate then to do anything to get out for any perceived like ticket to freedom. And like what you said, they also really effectively use the concept of the anti-vaxxer to control what people say about it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the fear of being called an anti-vaxxer is really strong for a lot of people. So that prevents them from questioning, even thinking about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a bully holding you down, being like, just say uncle. Just say uncle. Yeah. And you're like, fuck you.
Dude, it's fucking wild too, just because like there has like the last year and a half has just been this slow rolling fucking montage of just how like liberals are just fucking horrible monsters leaving human wreckage behind them. And so when I'm talking to just like normies that I know like around here, which is like the belly of the beast, close as I can get at least, there's never any like acknowledgement or anything. People just kind of like get a little bit quieter about things. Like you still can't say anything vaguely resembling like a complaint about wearing masks or like about not being able to have like gone to see your fucking family last year. It's just like shit like that, which is like, of course I did all of that, but like it's all so thoroughly disciplined, and then like what does get debunked and like what does get like outed as just being like fucking bullshit, like it doesn't fucking matter. Like they'll never have to eat crow because like they just get a little quiet about it. You just get a little bit quiet about it, and like if you push it, if you bring it up, like they'll probably just like toe the old line, but just like, you know, with like a little bit less like fire, you know, behind it. And then just change the topic to like whatever is still kosher to talk about. And
it's exactly the same as all the woke shit. It's exactly the same as that. People feeling a certain way in private, but feeling like they have to virtue signal a certain way to avoid trouble. You know what I mean? Nobody is genuinely woke because they genuinely mean it. Well, some people are, right? But like most people are just like, I just don't want the trouble. That's like the first impulse. So it's just like that, you know, it's a similar thing with this vaccine thing. Is like nobody wants it for its own sake. Like they want it for secondary reasons of like, I don't want the social discipline or the outcasting, whatever, or the labels, whatever. It's like, I don't know. It's a very similar thing because there's nothing substantive there. It's all top down. It's forced. And people should just not give a shit. You should just not give a shit. If they call you an anti-vaxxer, if they call you an anti-vaxxer, just say, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Like, just if they call you a Nazi or they call you whatever, just don't like, just accept it. Just don't even like, don't concede to their framing at all.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
The anti-vax thing really, like that label, like especially applied to this, really frustrates me because, like, you know, one of the big problems globally from lockdown is that like vaccine uptake, especially in poorest countries, is like dropped off a cliff because all these fucking NGO people can't, you know, do their work and travel like they used to. And there's a lot of, you know, other interconnected reasons, but like that's a huge problem. You know, these are actual like tested, safe and effective vaccines that children are not getting. So you're going to see a lot of people dying from preventable, you know, diseases. And it's like my position here is not that like all vaccines are bad and evil and they're trying to kill you.
No, of course.
Like it's just, but that's what people are afraid of being labeled. And I'm sure like people would listen to this conversation and slap that label on at least me, you know, definitely. But like it's just this reductive, like oppositional way of looking at things where you're with us or you're with the fucking poor people, basically. Like you're with us or you're with the white trash people who are stupid and don't like science. So
yeah, it's polarity. Yeah, it's polarity. It's like absolutes. It's like if you're not as woke as the latest iteration of wokeness that came out of academia, then you are a Nazi or a bigot. Like if you're not meeting that standard, then you must be the furthest end of the polar opposite. That's how it is. It's like, obviously I'm not against fucking vaccines. Obviously, like it doesn't make any sense, but this shit is fucking weird. I mean, everybody knows it's fucking weird. Like
I'm gonna give myself polio to own the libs this week.
Yeah. That's the counter argument. It's like, oh yeah, you're just gonna, you know, fuck yourself for cheap points or whatever. Like I don't know. I'm gonna hold out as long as I can. I mean, there's like as far as job pressure and like just like everything else, it's just mounting. So like it's sort of weird where like I just want to avoid the trouble. Obviously I don't want to get it, and I'm gonna hold out as long as I can. But like, yeah, there's just so many things just pushing you to just like, I'm lying for the most part. I'm just gonna say like I'm in places and I'll be like, yeah, I'm vaccinated, sure, whatever. They don't really check.
Right.
That is until they do vaccine passports or whatever. But that's how I've handled the situation so far. But like, I don't know. It feels like wall is closing in. Like it feels like at a certain point, you know, it's going to be the only thing you can do without avoiding trouble. And they're already talking. The Pfizer CEO is like talking about you're going to need a third shot because of this Delta variant. Like they're already saying this shit. Yeah. They're already softening the ground. And like, you know, I don't know about this whole like fucking up with menstrual cycles, or I don't know much about that. But like with my girl, like I don't even want like kids or whatever. But like I don't know, like she doesn't want to take it, and I'm just kind of like, I feel weird, like being like, oh, well, we just got to go along with this shit, like avoid the trouble, whatever. Like it just feels weird because it's like, damn, like I don't know what the fuck this is doing to you. Like I don't even know. Maybe it's not doing anything. I don't know. Maybe not. But like it's just very weird just being put in that position where you have a hesitation and you can't do anything about it. Like that's what bothers me the most. Is like, I don't know. Have you guys just avoided these situations?
Yeah, I mean, you have no possibility of informed consent. Like you can't really give your true consent if you feel coerced into it. Yeah. What really disturbs me is colleges requiring it for incoming students.
Insane.
Like I think the whole UC system here, or at least some of them, are going to require it, and they know that there's no real benefit for those kids, and for them individually, there's not a risk from COVID. And then there are higher risks of like the heart inflammation issue.
Yeah, these little kids having little fucking heart problems in fucking elementary school and shit, right?
The CDC had guidance that was like, if you got the first shot, you're a young person, you got the first shot, and you had a heart issue, you should still get the second shot.
Yeah, they're just like, go ahead and get the second one. It's good. Yeah.
What?
It's so absurd, dude. You guys saw that poll that they did, right? Where it's like if you got COVID, you should get the shot. True or false? And then like everybody on Twitter put false, and they're like, actually, this is like the dumbest shit in the world. Like, who fucking cares? It's just like people on Twitter, but it's funny, man. Like, why in the fuck do I need this vaccine if I've already caught it?
I've got natural immunity.
Yeah.
What's in that thing? What's in that thing? You got that? Are you putting in one of those ticks that's going to make me allergic to meat or something? Are you? What's going on here, man? You're talking a lot about degrowth in the news a lot. What's going on?
Well, just all along, they've done a really good job of overstating like natural risks, to a crazy degree. And now I think they're doing something they're also very good at, which is understating the risks of their products. And that's a pretty good 1-2 punch, really, like scare the shit out of you about the physical world and then lie to you about how dangerous the thing they're giving you isn't. So it's like, I don't know, especially with kids, college students and stuff, like their risk level is so minuscule from this virus that it's really, really wild to be like just forcing it on them. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, back to like the woke thing. Like, I just don't understand. Like, don't you want people to genuinely want to be woke if that's what you really are concerned about, or genuinely want the vaccine? Like, don't you want that? Like, it just seems weird to me that it's all this like the social pressure thing is what's driving it. It's like, it's just very weird to me, because if you really mean it and you really are serious about this and this is really important to you, wouldn't you want it to be organic? Like, I don't know. That's something that's very bizarre to me. And I didn't know that they were making college kids do that. I mean, like, but yeah, I mean, they're gonna undersell all the risks and all that. But I don't know. Every time as time goes on, I'm more and more like just paranoid about the vaccine itself, like as time goes on.
It's also crazy that the manufacturers have no liability whatsoever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. Yeah. I forget who was on with us that mentioned it. Classman, I think, from Ghost Show was like, like the no liability thing. Fucking insane. That's especially rushing the trials and all that.
Yeah,
like,
it all goes with the emergency use and like the crisis of the situation. So like, we're not going to put you guys on the hook for it. But yeah, people aren't like, I feel like if you're not paranoid about this stuff at this point, then you really have not been checking out what's going on, because the rush trials, the total lack of liability, the sort of fudging about the risks and the benefits, like all along. And I don't know, it's just, it's hard not to be paranoid about it for me.
Yeah, and in a crisis, we're going to, be lax about how thorough we are about things is the general MO. And that was also the MO for the Patriot Act in 9/11. Was like, they're fucking sending anthrax in the mail. We just had 2 towers go down, 3,000 people dead. Like, we're going to rush this shit through Congress. Like, it was one of the fastest pieces of legislation to get approved. Like, it was just like, the crisis of the moment. Like, there's no time to stop and think about it. Like, that's
they
how.
They sent anthrax to the senator who was going to vote against it. Isn't it Leahy in Vermont?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talks about it.
Yep.
It's weird.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It's all that energy of just like things being rushed, and like under normal circumstances, this would all be weird, but it's not, because we're in a crisis that may be manufactured. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. But have you avoided it, Noki? Like, how do you avoid like the vaccine pressures or any of that? Like,
well, I spent a lot of time in Trump country over the last bunch of months before I got down to Miami, and they're pretty chill, and they're open to all sorts of different perspectives and don't mind where you come from and what you think. I also don't have a smartphone, which I think is a pretty good line of defense, because it's definitely all going to come through an app of some sort, and I feel like they can't get me on my flip phone with this.
Yep.
But no, I mean, it's hard as for musical performance. This is definitely already a thing that's happening, and it's pretty hard to imagine how like that work would ever come back without some form of like, get a vaccine passport. And
right.
It's like a lot of the pressure is social, like Alex was saying, like friends come up and talk to you about it. And then CRK, you're talking about work. Like these are two, very, very big ways to make someone feel coerced. And yeah, you don't have informed consent here. It's not possible in this context. And I'm just going to do my best and wait it out, because this whole thing is freaking me out and I don't trust any of these people. But yeah, long term, I don't know. We'll see.
Another thing that's been used a lot, which has been used throughout this whole mess, is trying to make people feel like they're the only one who feels a certain way, like you're the only one who is vaccine hesitant. I feel like
fringe,
yeah, but there's still a lot of people who have not or haven't gotten the second dose, so it's not just a few people.
Thanks you guys for coming on. Thanks again, Alex, for coming on again. Definitely gonna have you back on. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And Nogi, thanks for coming on. I know it's your first time coming on, and you're like
my first podcast.
Not usually on pods.
Yeah, I've never done.
Shit, man. Nice.
You're welcome. I hope we were gentle.
Terrible. You were the worst.
Thank you.